90% of the time, you'll only have 10% of the information before you have to make a decision. You're never going to know everything before you got to decide. And you just got to sometimes jump off the cliff and say, we're going to fly. That's so much of this business is we're going to fly.
I am excited to have the one, the only Stephen Lee Jacobson, CEO of Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, with us today on the Whip to Warrior podcast. Jake, as I call you, what an honor for you to join us. And Jake, just so you know, there'll be real estate agents listening to this, loan officers from all over the country. Also, people just wondering, how do I go from being a whip to being a warrior? How do I have mental toughness? And when I think about mental toughness, shoot, you've come to mind. What we're going to talk about today, James, I want to talk about leadership, because right now in this country, in our families, in our businesses, there's a lot of challenges out there. There's challenges for, the economy is tanking. You've got challenges with families trying to buy a house. You've got challenges with young people in their walk in parenting, all of these things. But it all boils down to leadership. And to me, your leadership is what I look to all these years. And just going back to your background and starting Fairway and the leaders you look to, the qualities you took from them, and how did you implement those, how you started Fairway, and how did you take those leadership qualities that take you all the way to today? 27 years of an amazing company, from a small rubber shop to one of the number one mortgage companies in America. That's leadership.
Well, Weezy, I've been very fortunate in that the people I talk to really hasn't changed. The guy that got me in the mortgage business in 1984, I still talk to 2-3 times a month. His name was Art Peel. Art had his own commercial mortgage banking company. He started in the industry with a place called Knutson out of Minneapolis, and he and some partners started a place called Paragon Mortgage. Art is 70 years old. He retired when he was 50, did well enough to be able to retire. And we still talk 2-3 times a month. And so the core group of people, and there's other people like Art that I still talk to from the beginning. And, it's just been a process like anything. And, you mentioned stuff. I mean, there's good and bad that happens to all of us. Life doesn't discriminate. So we all have our highs and lows. We've had our highs and lows at Fairway, and I'm sure other companies have had too. And just knowing there's going to be highs and lows is part of the journey. And, you've heard it said all along, you don't get too high when you're high, and you don't get too low when you're low, and just kind of stay balanced and take one day at a time.
Well, Fairway was started third bedroom of a friend's house, I believe, and named by a friend. And then something happened that was the pivotal moment when something happened with your father and really changed the whole trajectory of how Fairway was growing from that moment on, right?
Yeah, I think it's, you hear it, but I think it's true. You make your plans and God laughs at you. And I do believe that, I thought about this company, and we actually just signed a 7-year lease to be inside Arlington, where the Texas Rangers play baseball. So the company was started in Arlington, Texas, and my dad got sick, and I'm from Wisconsin, and we were real close. So we're started, and then in a minute, everything changed, and actually been flying back and forth from Madison to Dallas for the last 27 years. And all the people I've met in Wisconsin, if my dad wouldn't have gotten sick, I never would have met him. So you got the Len Kropinskis, the Todd Gabinskis, you got some great people that we've met. Teresa Cornell's been here since the beginning. There's so many people that have been here since the beginning. It's really just been a blessing. So, you control what you can control, and you got to let go of some of the stuff. And I really do believe the one day at a time thing does resonate.
One of the things I appreciate about you is, you created a company, but then within that company, you allowed other people to build branches, to allow them to build platforms in their respective neighborhoods across the country, right? That's what you allowed us to do. And you didn't restrict us. You allowed us to have our platform and what we wanted that to be. Is that something that you felt? I know you worked for a large mortgage company at one time, felt like you had no controls whatsoever. It seemed to me, at least when I came on board 23 years ago, you wanted us to feel like we had a small part of the control of our destiny.
Well, it goes back to, I'm 63 years old today, and I remember back when I was 30, my boss at the time, Roger Housley, who was an ex-military Vietnam vet, came to me one day, and I was very fortunate. I had some great agents that I still know. in Phoenix and Scottsdale. And I had 3 branches and really had it made business wise. And he came to me one day when I was 30 and says, "Hey, would you be interested in an opportunity in Texas?" And he talked through all that and asked him some questions and basically made that decision to move to Houston in 30 to 45 minutes. And you say, why did you share that story? I think sales types, we always got to have what's next. And if you don't give opportunities to grow, good people will leave. And so we've had some good people that we've given opportunities to that maybe not respected the opportunity or whatever, but it doesn't really even matter. Some will, some won't, both are okay. But it doesn't change the fact that you have to stop, that you give opportunities. For example, with you, with AWI, what a tremendous opportunity. And you've had 10 years, and how many service dogs have we given away?
Well, as of last week, 330 service dogs in the last 7 years, millions of dollars in other initiatives, Jay. Thanks to the platform.
Well, but here's the deal. Those 330 dogs, how many have I personally been present? I'm not sure if I've been present for 1 or 2. The point is you're so good at that. It's your platform. You do a fantastic job. You fly all over the United States, and it's part of the fun for you. It's like you're living your best life doing that. Right now, we're doing the same thing with Haley Parker and what she's doing in her platform, and she's so excited. And she's doing such a good job. Same thing with Fairway Cares and my sister, Sherry. How happy is Sherry running Fairway Cares? I mean, what a blast. I mean, God didn't make us to listen to our brothers or sisters. You think she's going to listen to me? The answer is no. But the platform, she's doing amazing with it. And I think you have to give people opportunities, and that's any business, that's part of a discipline. So,
well, and so I heard the quote that a leader says, true success for a leader is when you help others. And we talk about platforms, but literally where you have helped other people and grown others to become leaders of their own with their own platform. You mentioned Sherry. What I said that you didn't hear was, I know Sherry, I'm friends with Sherry, and no, she's not going to listen to you. That's just a joke, Sherry. But the platform that you allowed other people, you gave other people, allowed them to build within our company has helped them to be leaders of their own right, on their own standing, and to build. And to me, our position as those leaders is to help give other people other opportunities. And it goes on and goes on and goes on. Leading during tough times. Now, Jay, I remember 2007, 2008. I was with Fairway during those. Those were tough years. How did you feel like your leadership? Okay. And in today's climate, we can all admit there's some tough times in our industry right now. There were tough times in 2007, 2008. I'm sure it was tough times when you started a company and your dad gets sick and you're wondering how I'm going to pay the bills. Do you feel like your leadership style changed any, or just share some thoughts on leading in tough times?
Well, I think that, I believe life does not discriminate. So you see a lot of things on social media, all the positive and the good, but behind the good, there's always tough stuff, and so we've been through some tough times in the 27 years. My dad and Sherry's dad had an operation Christmas Day, 1996, and then he never did get better. He died 26 months later, but never made it home. And I think what you do learn when you go through, when I say never made it home, made it as far as a nursing home or the hospital, but never talked, walked, controlled bowel movements, feeding tube, trach, all that stuff. And so you live through that stuff, and I think what you do, you learn, and I hate to say patience, I really don't have any, but you do learn the value of being patient, knowing that you can't fix everything every day like you want to. It's going to take time, and good things take time. Good things. You can grow a company very, very, very slowly. Any company can go down very, very quickly. So you got to stay humble about what you're doing, and what you've already done it doesn't really matter. It's what you do today. And so there's a discipline here, a consistency. I think any athlete would say the same. You have to be consistent, disciplined, and there's a lot of times you don't want to do the stuff you have to do, but you do it anyhow. And that's a discipline. And any business that does well, I'm sure there's been humbling times. And so those times shouldn't, it's not like oh my gosh, you stay balanced and expect that stuff's going to be high and low, and you don't have to ride the emotional roller coaster that other people try to put you on.
You come from a sports background and you use a lot of sports analogies, Jay. How had your background in sports helped you to create this company, maintain this company, grow this company?
Well, I think college athletics, I can't speak for anybody else, obviously, but at a D1 level at Wisconsin, I went from being the leading scorer in the state my senior in high school to scoring 14 points in 3 years at the university. And you go through a very humbling experience when you have 2.5 hour practices and you're not going to play. So I think that, the competitiveness of college athletics, I was voted captain my senior year by players. I know it, you have the respect, and that's really what you want, is the respect of your teammates more so than anything else. And respect is earned. It's never given. And so a lot of people say a lot of things, but words don't really matter. It's the actions. And I think what you learn is just to kind of stay balanced. You see a lot of good stuff in this business. You see a lot of stuff that's not so good. You see a lot of people say a lot of things, and you see a lot of people not honor their word. Both don't really matter. Both shouldn't surprise. I think you go through experiences that are humbling, and I think you don't overreact to the event of the day. You lose a parent, you lose a best friend, you lose these people. That's a big deal. But the business stuff is it's an adjustment you have to make based on what you learn. It's not going to be perfect. You're not going to be popular all the time. Leadership is definitely not a popularity. It's not a popular endeavor. If you want to be a leader, forget about being popular, right? So you just have to understand that's just the way it goes. In those disciplines in college, I think, I've thought a lot about those over the years. And the physical exertion you go through in college athletics is something that's hard to explain to people unless you've been through it. There's mental, there's physical. The physical's hard. And at least what we do on a daily basis right now isn't physical.
Talking about Jake, I've heard Jason Redmond talk about when he was laying on that battlefield and there was gunfire going over his head for about 45 minutes, and he knew he was bleeding out, and all the things he thought about in what he thought were his last minutes. And his saying is no bad day, unless there is something that caused lasting emotional or physical trauma. But he said most of the things that bother us are just schedule disruptions. And that's what you're talking about. So I'm going to read this quote to you. It's something you sent out today, and I just thought this was really good.
Just like anybody, I've read a lot of stuff over the years. And one of the things I've read is that 90% of the time, you'll only have 10% of the information before you have to make a decision. You're never going to know everything before you got to decide. And you just got to sometimes jump off the cliff and say, we're going to fly. And that's so much of this business is we're going to fly. I'm pretty sure most people in the industry would not have expected, and I know all the mortgagees are dealing with it, the repurchase risk that is happening with Fannie and Freddie right now. They don't really want to buy loans, and loans that they were buying 2 years ago, they're not buying today. And so there's companies being challenged. All of us are. And it's always what's around the corner, and it can surprise. And the surprise is don't be surprised. Just, okay, that's another thing to deal with. And like you said, like Jason said, just another adjustment, and you got to tweak things. Now keep in mind, when you're tweaking things, you're going to push people in different directions they don't want to go in. And that's where it's not popular. And that's just part of it.
You're speaking to loan officers, you're speaking to branch managers, you're speaking to real estate agents, real estate brokers. And the way I look at it, you're speaking to individuals that are leaders of their homes, of their families. So during tough times, how do you keep, I'm just going to ask you, Jake, and this is how we'll end this call. How do you keep a positive outlook? How do you keep a positive mental attitude during tough times? When you really, it's like that, we hear in the military that race of the unknown distance. We don't know how long we're going to have to go through this. They start out in the military and they say, start running. They go, how long do I have to run? 5 miles, you just keep running. 10 miles, you don't know. You run until we tell you to stop. And you have no idea of how long the run is. It's the run of the unknown distance. What would you say to people listening to this call today? How do you keep a positive mental attitude? How do you keep excited? How do you keep the energy up and the passion going when things all around you? You've just been running for hours, maybe a day. You've been running. And you don't know how much longer it's going to be. How do you keep the excitement and the energy going?
Well, I think we're blessed just to be here. I think if you've had, at 63, and I'm sure people listening have all had losses in their life. When you've lost people that are important to you, and you've seen the trauma they go through, and because you just do, because I think you have to have a faith, you have to have family, you have to have friends. And those three are important. You got to lean on all three. You have to lean on your faith, you lean on your family, lean on your friends, and you don't have to have that many unconditionals. You have to have a few, right? That care about you no matter what. And to me, it's more like high school and college, but I don't know if I have a job, and I think you have to know that everything in life has seasons. There's a season for this, there's a season for that, and nothing stays great forever and nothing stays bad forever. And you just got to know there's a season, and there's a discipline knowing that there's a season. Things came to pass, not to stay. And so if you know that everything come to pass, and I know when we're in the middle of something really bad, I know you look around and say, why am I the only person going through this? Why is everybody else around just happy and fun and they don't have no problems? Well, you go through stuff in life. I had a conversation today with somebody, I won't say who, but it was about this person's family mother going through early on there's a whole bunch of stuff, healthcare. Well, I know I can talk about that because I went through it with my father. Now, during that time, and I'd be willing to bet the most important call I had today was that half-hour call that had nothing to do with Fairway. But if I hit my niece tonight, I know that I helped that person. Well, I couldn't help that person if I wouldn't have went through what I went through with my father. So I think you just have to kind of keep the right perspective. Is what you're going through is going to make you a better person. And you just don't overreact to the moment, knowing that things do pass. It will be okay. You'll live to the other side. And if there's lessons to be learned, so be it. This industry is interesting. It doesn't discriminate, but we still help people buying a house, and it still feels great. It goes back to that, I've been doing this now 4 years in January. It's still, the intrinsic reward system to me is more important than any of the money. It feels great helping people. And that's what we do. We help people here. And there's nothing better than helping somebody else.
And I just want to say, Jake, thanks to your leadership, thousands of veterans and active duty military, thousands of Fairway employees have been helped through Fairway Cares. Your nonprofit has helped, and I will say through the service dog, saved many lives. So we're thankful for your leadership, and I'm thankful that you joined us on this call. I was thinking about it. You call me Booth, Montana. Do you want to share with them why you call me?
Yes, I most certainly do want to tell them why I call you Booth, Montana, because there was this thing called COVID. And when COVID happened, there were certain ladies in the South that could not get to their hairstylist because of COVID. And that we have these Hollywood Square things we do that are called Zoom calls now. And we had this lady in Louisiana, from Manny, Louisiana, that during COVID, the hair just went right up to the edges of the Hollywood Squares. It bouffanted all the way through the squares. So I don't know what happened. Bouffantana. Matter of fact, I've heard from some delegates that have texted me that they're changing the name of Louisiana to Bouffantana. So I think that there's going to be new maps, there's new things, the new governor. So the governor is going to be a Bouffantana.
I appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much. God bless you, Jay.